What was your experience with office nutrition? What is your experience maybe then and now, and how the conversation unfolds about that?
So my experience of office nutrition was probably quite humorous, but probably also very stereotypically office based. So I worked in one of those offices that you described, like a very soulless, desk to desk kind of environment. Amazing people and, a great company to work for, but it was one of those soulless offices. And what we had a lot, which I'm not sure if still happens or not, is we used to have a lot of vendors coming with snacks and treats, or it'd be like Friday cake day. It varied, but there were definitely a lot of snacks around. And when the vendors came in with treats, it was, like a pizza delivery or a donut delivery. There'd be just trays and trays of donuts. It was never anything remotely healthy. And then come to Christmas and the selection boxes start coming out, boxes of biscuits start coming out. And I think as an individual, we're really heavily influenced by our environment. We are. Like, have you ever tried sitting in an office with a cake tin, some biscuits, and some chocolate, and then went, you know what, I'm going to resist? That genuinely is the minority of individuals. It just,
or
it's
you make
hard.
it until like 2 p.m.
Yeah,
and then you
get really
might
hungry.
have got through the morning. Also, just like to say here, like, we're not demonizing eating chocolate or eating sweets or anything, but it's just that boredom. I think it's that boredom instinct of not actually wanting it. Like, you don't want it, but it's just there. It's not that it's bad to eat the donuts.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make sense because we don't want it. We know it won't help us, but it's just that level of it.
Look, when you're in that kind of monotone environment, right? I'm sure individuals listening to this will be like, I really love my job and I sit in one of those offices. Honestly, amazing. Like, I love that for you. But there is a point in the afternoon where we have a natural slope in our energy. We do. It's how the circadian rhythm works. The circadian rhythm dictates when we wake up and when we fall asleep. And there is a very definitive dip in the afternoon for most people. I'm not saying it's going to be everyone, but most people have that little dip in the afternoon, especially after we've eaten lunch as well. So we get to that little afternoon dip, we're sitting at the desk and we're like, okay, we need a little bit of energy, or I'm bored out of my mind. The quickest way to get that little hit of feel-good hormones is to have something carbohydrate-based or something sugary. It's the reason those things exist, and it's the reason those things are so hard to avoid because we all just want that little feel-good thing, don't we? So I completely hear that office thing, and I have been there. The other part of the office scenario was, I don't know what your experience is like of that circumstance, but mine was very definitely everyone starting a diet on a Monday. That was very much the realm of when I was in an office as well. Or the other side is that I'd be out for meetings all day, in which case nourishment was very limited. So now as a nutritionist, I look at those times and I go, you know what, realistically, what helps? Because I lived through that. I've experienced the vendor trays of donuts and sitting there, bored in the afternoon. And I've also experienced driving 3 hours for a meeting, a 1 hour meeting, and then driving 3 hours back, which is hard. And then what nutrition looks like in that realm. So I really use those experiences now and try and help my clients accordingly, having lived it.
And what is your advice to people who are listening to this and going like, yeah, I see that, I feel that? What sort of examples would you say to give to them?
My top recommendation is going back to that preloading with nutrients. So having a really good breakfast. I would say that getting lots of nutrients in at the beginning of the day, and in fact, there is quite a lot of research on this, especially for protein, that if you preload with protein and have quite a bit of protein for breakfast and nutrients, not just protein by itself, like not a protein shake, it's, if we want a good breakfast, we say like eggs and a few veggies. That would be a good example. That cravings hit a lot less later in the day. We tend to experience cravings a lot less. And I think this idea of then having that base of nourishment, which then also hopefully helps the individual focus a lot better as well, puts less pressure on having to scrabble around for any form of nourishment because your brain has stopped working. I see that a lot when we don't, and I don't know if you've experienced this, but I'm not naturally a morning person. I don't naturally want breakfast in the morning, but if I don't eat breakfast in the morning, circa 10 o'clock, my brain goes into absolute low battery mode. And whether I want to admit to it or not, I don't function as well. And I have been there to kid myself about this and be like, I'm not a morning person, I don't need breakfast. I function totally differently if I don't. So having that little hit of nutrients very first thing in the morning helps to, helps us focus better and just have that base of nourishment, so we're not craving things and we're not having to rely on those office snacks later in the day for some form of energy. I don't really put any emphasis in going, you know what, don't ever touch those office treats, because again, like, life is a little bit too short. I put emphasis on adding the nutrients in first and seeing what that looks like, because it's a lot easier to not overeat those treats if we've got nutrients already in our system and we already feel nourished and good and our brain is functioning. Because if it doesn't, then our default is sugar, please. And that is the normal human default. I mean, I'll throw this out to you. What's the first thing you crave when you're really hungry?
It's something quick and easy, isn't it? Sugar. You just want that. If you feel really hungry and you have a chocolate bar and a banana in your bag, what are you going to eat? You're probably going to eat the chocolate bar.
It's our default is to crave carbs when we're really hungry. So basically, if you leave the tank empty, we are always going to default to overeating carbs. If we put something in the tank, then it's much easier.